Hi guys, Jarrod here. I promised you all I was going to do a video on how to get the best possible picture quality from the SEGA Saturn. I said this when I did the video showing how to get the best picture quality from the SEGA Dreamcast, and well, it has taken me quite a few weeks because of something very important that I want to tell you all right now. So try and pay as close attention to this video as humanly possible so you don't run into the exact same problems I had. First off, you're going to want to order this. It's actually a video converter made from a company called CVid. I first heard about this from Adam Korlick, who I have to give a shout out. He has tried everything in his power to help me out, and he wasn't 100% sure on exactly how to help me out with the problem that I'm about to tell you. But first off, you're going to need this converter, and it looks like this, okay? You have a SCART in, an HDMI in, power, and then out here you have where you can switch between the PAL region and the NTSC region. You also have an audio out and an HDMI out. And what this is supposed to do is supposed to take SCART in and upscale it to 720p, and you can output in HDMI, right? So what is SCART and what was my issue? So before I talk about the issue, I'm going to talk about what SCART is in general. All right, all of you know that we had, what are they called? Composite cables for many of our old systems. And this is what they looked like. They were these things right here. This is for your audio, and this guy right here, boy, the sun is bright today. Let me just cover it so you can see. That's the yellow one. And this one is for your video. Now, composite signal is better than RF, but not by much. It's not the nicest video signal possible. And if you have no other choice, you can boost this to 720p, but it doesn't look that great, as you'll see later on when I do boost up composite signal, signals to high definition for some of the other retro consoles, but that'll be probably sometime next year. But anyways, in Europe and in Japan, they had things that look like this. This is a SCART cable, okay? Now, here's where the confusion begins. They didn't have, or maybe they did have, I don't live in Europe, I live in Canada, which follows the exact same audio-video standards as the United States. So, Europeans out there, I don't know if you did have this or if SCART was your only option or your only means of connecting in. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make here is the composite actually is available, the same quality in SCART, okay? There's actually two forms of SCART. And by just looking at it, you can't necessarily tell which is which. So we have a SCART cable that would output composite, in other words, the exact same video quality signal. And then you have a SCART cable that can output what's called RGB, or red, green, blue. It is a significantly better signal than composite, okay? Now, our North American systems are actually compatible with SCART cables. It's just we can't connect them to our televisions because it's expecting a composite. So in terms of overall quality, you want this, but you're kind of limited in how you can get that on your television until this came around. Until I saw that video from Adam, I was like, yeah, well, great. I knew that you can get RGB from some of these old systems, but how do you actually go about getting it to a modern day television? Well, that's where this converter comes in. So you would take the SCART, you plug it into the SCART in, and HDMI out. That's it. No other cables. I'm not going to show you how to connect this one up because I don't think it's really necessary. It's pretty obvious, right? Now, what this does is it allows you to take that pure red, green, blue signal and then basically upscale that to 720 or 1080p and throw that on your high definition television. And it looks amazing. Like, the quality is really impressive. I'm sure there's better converters out there. This isn't the most expensive converter on the market, but for the amount of money that you're going to spend, which this guy ranges from between, I'd say, 50 and 100. It depends on where you get it. I'll put a link to Amazon.com down below. But again, major thanks to Adam for mentioning this, showing this video. But what he didn't know, and what I'm sure a lot of you will be interested to know, is that if you plan on doing this with the Sega Saturn or with other consoles, you need to make sure you buy the right SCART cable. Now, I had mentioned that there are two SCART cables. There's one that will work basically like a composite, so it's going to give you that lower end signal, and you're going to get one that can do the pure RGB, but it's not that simple. And this is the problem I had, and this is the problem that I don't think Adam realized at the point in time, and I'm sure that a lot of other people didn't realize. You can't just go on eBay and put, oh, SCART cable, say Sega Saturn or something like that. Doing so will result in what I have right here. This is a SCART cable that was ordered from eBay. It cost me peanuts, like it was only like, I don't know, 13, 15 bucks, something like that. But it was shipped from Europe. What does that mean? Nothing in and of itself, but you need to ask, will a PAL SCART RGB cable work on an NTSC Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo, Mega Drive, Sega Genesis, whatever? You need to make sure before you order anything. I ordered this one. It doesn't work. Why? Because I have a North American Sega Saturn, which is NTSC. I have a PAL cable going to a North American television. Needless to say, our little converter here has a bloody heart attack. Because it turns out, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. You see the pins inside there? You can just make it out, I believe. Well, apparently those pinouts are not exactly the same. They look the same in terms of positioning, but the way your console communicates through this cable is not exactly the same depending on where you buy your cable. So try and find a SCART cable that will work on a Sega Saturn, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, what have you, where the pinouts are exactly the same or that they're neutral pinouts. This took me weeks of research to find this out because, again, we don't have this cabling system in North America. So I didn't know. I just ordered any old cable and said, well, that's it. That's, I'm good. But I wasn't good. So this didn't work. Started going on forums like Sega 16 and even Dreamcast Gaga and other just a whole bunch of forums asking people what the hell is the difference between all of this. And that's when I learned that it was about these pinouts. So I then ordered the official Sega Saturn RGB SCART cable from Japan. Get this, doesn't work. Now, this case, I don't know if it is if it's the cable itself, because the pins were very loose inside and what have you. But when I did connect it, here's the thing that happened. When I connected the one I got from Europe into this, there's three settings. It basically tells you what your input is, what your output is, and what the region is. With this PAL one, it was saying that the quality was AV, as in composite. Okay? It didn't even detect that this was an RGB cable. Then it was saying my output was all retarded, all distorted, like it wasn't supposed to just say 720p or 1080p, but it kept flashing all this weird stuff. Then it would say for my region would go PAL, NTSC, PAL, NTSC. So it was like wonderful. But then I realized that this wasn't the right cable. Then I got my Japanese one here, plugged it into our little converter, same thing. Now the entire screen would go red. However, it did detect that this was an RGB cable. It just couldn't output it. It looked like a Virtual Boy, basically. So I cried myself to sleep, and I was like, well, I'm trying to get you guys really good quality. I don't want to just showcase standard definition. I know the original games, that's what they were outputted in, but I wanted to spice things up for all of you guys. Well, I finally came across, I just wrote it down here, consolegoods.co.uk. I cannot stress this enough. If you are looking to upscale your retro consoles, Now, you'll have to do some research because not all retro consoles can output in pure RGB. Some can only output in composite, okay? So you have to check that out. Like, for example, the Nintendo 64, I believe you actually have to modify that in order to get it to output to RGB. However, the Sega Master System, the Sega Genesis, the 32X, CD, Saturn, all of those can be done through RGB SCART. The original NES, I don't believe the North American model can. However, the Super Nintendo can. So instead of going to eBay and instead of trying to find where the hell to go to get all these different SCART cables, go to, I'm going to put it in the description, consolegoods.co.uk. The person I was dealing with, his name was Robert. Thank you so much, because this just arrived, looks 100% identical to the one I got from Europe, okay? And this was from Europe. But on his site, he specifically tells you whether or not the SCART cable will work on an NTSC model. And for this Sega Saturn one, he specifically says it is a universal SCART cable. Apparently, it's something to do, again, with one of these pinouts where you can make it like a neutral. Basically, the NTSC model is looking for some sort of signal or some sort of electrical current or whatever, and the PAL one is looking for the reverse or something else. And what this one does is it neutralizes it so that it actually feeds both platforms. And I want to just tell you right now, I just tried a quick demo and it works brilliantly. I am so happy right now, you cannot imagine. So I can finally start mixing and matching between not just showing you guys all the different Dreamcast videos, but it can now start spicing things up with Sega Saturn as well. So I am very, very happy about this. About the only other thing I can mention to you guys is the fact that when you do buy this, it will come with a cable that looks like this, which is for Europe, but it also comes with a nice little step-down, not a step-down, but a nice little adapter so that it will plug into our outlets. Now, I only tried 2 games, and currently, what did I try? I tried Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Came out better than I could possibly imagine. It was, it just looks amazing. I also tried Knights, and on the, let's see, left-hand side of the screen, right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see it in the video, and I'm sure you guys, you'll never be able to take your eyes off it. It's going to be right here, okay? It's going to basically just, you'll see like a weird little line of colors or something like that. It doesn't take away from the game whatsoever. And if all the games, if all the footage I record has that little distortion in the corner there, who cares compared to how nice and rich the colors look. So what I'm going to do right now, normally I would connect everything up, but I actually already just put everything away. I forgot to take a picture of it, but it's super simple. This goes in the back of your Sega Saturn, that goes into the SCART in, and then you take an HDMI and you go from the HDMI out to your television and power this, put power in your Sega Saturn, and away you go. It really is that simple. You don't have to worry about any other mumbo jumbo, and that's it. So again, major thanks goes to Adam Korlick for first mentioning the converter and doing everything in his power to help me out. And then the second major thank you goes to Robert at consolegoods.co.uk. I'm just so thrilled that I finally figured out this problem. And again, to all of you guys who are planning on ordering one of these converters, make damn sure you know whether or not your SCART cable is compatible with the NTSC model. And by doing so, just go to consolegoods.co.uk and you can just breathe a sigh of relief, because you don't have to worry that, oh, you know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You don't have to deal with eBay and all that nonsense. It's a set price. Their prices are extremely affordable. So yeah, go check them out, and let's check out these 2 games that I captured some footage of. I think the first thing you can tell right away is the fact that the colors are absolutely amazing. It may not have come through so much on that FMV, but it sure comes through here. I mean, look at this. The reds, the blues, the greens, just everything looks absolutely spectacular. The only thing that I noticed is take a look at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. You'll see there's this weird line or whatever, and it only showed up in night, so I'm not entirely sure what the deal is with that. I'm not sure if it was the cable, if it's just the game itself, or what have you. If you notice right now, it's sort of on the top left-hand corner. But whatever, that little line is not going to make or break anything. And like I say, it's only been featured in nights. But look at this. This looks damn amazing. I have never seen the SEGA Saturn look this sharp or this good ever, even on a CRT. But this is on my HD TV going at, 720p at 60 hertz, and it is absolutely breathtaking. My videos for all my SEGA Saturn games now should be really, really impressive in terms of quality and give you all a better idea of what the Saturn was capable of, because what you're seeing here is all the Saturn. This is no no magic or anything. This is what the system was actually capable of, and it's pretty damn remarkable. Just wait until you guys get a load of how the 2D games look on the SEGA Saturn. It's even more amazing than this, which really blew my mind. So let's go ahead and take a look at that right now. I think the first thing you can see is that the colors just pop from the screen. I mean, look at this. It's never ever looked so vivid, so bright, just so damn impressive. I mean, this is on a system that was released in 1995. Think about that. That was a long, long time ago. Almost 20 years ago now. My God, time flies. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. Be sure to pick up that converter. Like I said, I'm going to put the link in the description below. Big thanks goes out to Adam Korlick for mentioning the converter to begin with. And a huge shout out goes out to Robert from Console Goods and for supplying the wonderful SCART cable that will work on both PAL and NTSC systems. Guys, if you own a SEGA Saturn and you want to play it on an HD TV, this is the way to do it. So thanks for watching the video. Now sit back and enjoy the rest of the spectacular footage.
Wolverine!